is we look at financial accounting and reporting in Malaysian government as a case. Can you see my slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. I think in the last week, okay, we basically discussed an overall view the characteristics of financial accounting in the public sector. Okay, we also did a discussion on fund accounting. Okay, and so I think take note of that because it's quite different than what you are exposed to private sector, and it's very, very useful in practice. And you know that at this point, a fund can, in government can become very big. Okay, so that's why understanding of what fund is and the use of money and the source of money. So of course, accounting provides the technology or the techniques to make sure that the committee or the trustee of the fund can discharge their accountability. Okay. Of course, I mean, in our example, I highlighted Tabung Haji, the Pilgrimage Fund, and there are other funds as well. Okay, and in the government itself, okay, they will use fund accounting. We'll see later on for today. And okay, of course, it can justify arguments. Okay, if there is initiatives or decisions made which is against the use of the fund, right? And then it can be, argument against it or for it can be made using fund accounting as for justification. Okay, I think that is very important because there are instances where the trustees or decision maker or agency that is basically looking after the funds can make decisions contradict to the term of the audit of the trustees or the law, the relevant law that is basically applied for the fund. Okay, then someone needs to be accountable. In what way? Because you must understand government agencies, pretty much they are also under the influence of political control. Okay, I'm not saying that political control in itself is something not proper, but it's because the demands for the stakeholders are massive. Unlike the private sector where they have to deal with the shareholders and then various types of stakeholders that they can manage. Whereas government agencies, I think, much more complex than the private sector organizations. Okay, so I think while waiting for some of your friends, as I mentioned earlier, always come early because once I start the lecture, it's not easy to join. Okay, now let me check if there's start with the infrastructure or the agencies, okay, and then we also look at the relevant statutes and legal framework. Okay, and then we look at the structure of federal consolidated funds, and then we look at the financial reporting practices in Malaysian government, including the financial reporting for statutory bodies. Okay, so the responsibility, of course, the agency. The first one is the Treasury and the Accountants General Department. Okay, the responsibility of financial accounting reporting vested with the Ministry of Finance, particularly the Treasury and the Accountant General. Accountant General Department, so the accounting part. Issue instructions and directions on accounting matters and procedures monitor that a proper accounting system is established, ensure procedures complying with the general accepted accounting practices. Okay, I think that's why if they adopt cash accounting, they follow they follow basically IFAC, right, standards, and then of course a bit of modifications to harmonize, okay, with the local statutes, because if the accounting standards contradict with the law, with the local law, then the law will prevail. Okay, so I think that's the choice in the government, for government agencies. Okay, accounting system, I think nowadays basically all online accounting, I mean the digital accounting system. And I think pretty much, okay, nowadays all digitalized. I think, of course, this structure, accounting machinery, was also shared at the beginning of the semester. Okay, so a brief highlights. Okay, in terms of agency, I think talk about personnel. Okay, they have accountants and then accounting staff. Okay, the system and procedures. Okay, the main source, of course, the federal constitution, providing the clause for consolidated accounts and its accounting and reports. The detail provided by Financial Procedures Act, and including Audit Act and PSAS. Okay, later on we'll discuss a bit more on PSAS, and in the following week or maybe next class, we'll see, as the semester is getting near to end. So we'll review selected MPSAs, which is quite unique in the context of our public sector, because some of others standards are very similar to the private sector. So those standards I'm not going to cover in detail, but there are selected MPSAs that will be discussed in this class. Okay, at least you will be aware of the details and some discussion. I mean, at least you can appreciate the accounting side of it. And relevant treasury instruction and circulars. Okay, later on we'll see. One example was, for instance, like because many government organizations also, they have this self-accounting body status, but doesn't mean that they are, of course they can develop their own accounting system, but at the same time they have to follow the framework guidelines that is being provided by EG, okay, Auditor Accountants General. And I think one of the features of accounts, is a accounts code can need to be standardized somehow, so that they can have reporting, and consolidate the reportings. Okay, the function, the treasury. Okay, take note. Please read. I think we discussed this before. Okay, Accountants General Department. Okay, so definitely one of them is to prepare quality public accounts. I think that's the function objective number one that we discussed for the financial accounting. Okay, and others. So you must understand at this point the role of AG. Okay, some also for departments, for ministries, they also the accounts, the accounts department for the ministries and for the agencies. Except if the agency as ministries, they have this self-accounting body status. Otherwise, the accounting department is the AG. Okay, controlling officers, okay, for budget as well as for reporting. Okay, so he will be the one who being scrutinized for the budget. Of course, when being scrutinized with the Public Account Committee is based on the annual reports. Okay, nowadays, of course, for our discussion still, the annual report is based on cash accounting. Okay. But very soon, okay, this year or next, that the annual report will be based on accrual accounting. Okay, so there must be, we'll see how the impact in terms of what will happen in Public Account Committee, possibly a greater transparency and more discussion can be made to hold controlling officers accountable to the Parliament. Accounting officers, right, in charge of all the accounting operation in the government, from issuing the source documents, okay, the cash, okay, disbursements, as well as good use of the public money. Right, so is that you holding the head, looking at the source documents or accounting documents? But nowadays, no more hard copy, isn't it? Mostly online. Okay, accounting cycle, brief overview again. I think now we are at this stage. We're done with the warrants and budget. Now we are moving at this stage, preparing financial statements. Then with the financial statements, will be audited, and then will be to committee. So we are at this stage of the discussion. Right, source of the statutes, okay, the mandates to prepare the annual reports and as well as financial reports, okay, provided by the financial institutions. I think these are just another diagram, what has been shown just now. Right, these are relevant under constitutions, okay, even the preparing of financial statements here. Okay, under Financial Procedures Act, relevant accounts within the consolidated funds. Okay, so you look at the item here, management and control of consolidated funds. Right, maybe we can have a quick look. Okay, I think you have, you can check yourself. Okay, yearly statement of accounts, these are the items within the Financial Procedures Act. Okay, being provided. Nowadays, you can download all these documents. You can Google and download from the internet. Okay, maybe we try. Just for an example, Financial Procedures Act 1957. All right, quick look. Yeah, you see all these items is there, being clearly mentioned in the statutes. Okay, I don't expect you to memorize, but at least you know that it's a source of the law. Okay, that's how the account need to be prepared. Okay, consolidated fund accounts. So this clearly mentioned consolidated revenue account, loan, trust. So something provided by the law. So, so the issue is how this translated by the AG. Yeah? I think I can share this later on. Okay, I think I will share this. I will upload in your Google Classroom. Okay, so I'll just continue first. Right, so all this provided. Okay, with Treasury instructions, so you can see some of the example, relevant Treasury instructions for accounting operations from T153 to Treasury instructions 140, right, including the reporting. Okay, now we move to accounting standards, the AG. Okay, for these accounting standards, I think you can get yourself familiar. I copy this because I want to use Chrome. Yes. Okay, this is the website. Okay, AG and AG at the Accountants General website. So freely available, you can download them, right? For instance, of course, we use English. Let's say PSA S1, right? So you click, you get the copy. So these are accounting standards. And I think you should read PSA S1. This is also part of the syllabus. And try to appreciate, particularly, get an understanding the differences between the private and public sector reporting. Okay, so you can expect that from the framework, because I think they combine the theoretical framework with the MPSAS one. Okay, so you can see that qualitative characteristics of financial reporting, appendix A. So that's basically theoretical framework, conceptual framework. Sorry, not theoretical. Conceptual framework for the reporting. Okay. I think it's not in terms of the items and all that. It may not. The big part of it is similar to MFRS. Okay, the qualitative characteristics. Okay, understandability, relevance, neutrality. I think it's very similar to the MFRS. Okay, I think one of the difference is in the MFRS is faithful representation. Okay, this is new. Maybe not new for you because once you learn about conceptual framework, this is given to you. Okay, but if you are exposed to the previous conceptual framework, okay, they have other item other than this faithful representation, which is substance over form is there as well. Should be called substance or transaction, and not merely the legal form. They also have substance or form. Okay, I think that for this is basically for you to just highlight this. All the relevant accounting standards for government, MPSAS. Okay, there are instruments, items which is specific to a government. Okay, so we'll discuss later.
Sir, sorry. Someone is requesting to enter the jury.
Okay, requesting what?
Someone requests to enter the class.
Okay. Okay. 39, good. Most students are here now. Any complaint? Try to Google the link and error pop-up. I try Mozilla in Google Chrome. Oh, right. Still problem? Sister Hidayah? Can you get this website? Yes or no?
No, sir, cannot.
Cannot get access.
Yeah.
Oh, why? Because these are for public. They don't. It's not. I'm getting access as a public user. Anyway, later on also I think I will upload all these relevant MPSAs. Okay, for the discussion. But at least you can check later. That
Okay, sir.
Okay, the relevant accounting standard, the MPSAS. Okay. Okay, structure of accounts. This based on the Constitution. Requires that all revenues and monies, howsoever raised or received by the Federation, shall be paid into and form one fund to be known as the Federal Consolidated Fund. Okay. So these are another good friend of you in PSA, Federal Consolidated Fund. So in other words, all the money being accounted for under the Federation of Malaysia should be accounted in this and reported, particularly reported, so under Federal Consolidated Fund. So if the government want to draw the budget out, so from this account, from this fund, Federal Consolidated Fund. Okay, in Malay we call it fund is kumpulan wang. Kumpulan wang. Okay, kumpulan wang. not only sometimes fund, because we can also name that as what is fund? It's that kumpulan wang. I think that's a common one. Okay, kumpulan wang. Okay, just for international students. Okay, there's a Malay word we use. So if you come across this word kumpulan wang, so it's basically related to fund. Okay, kumpulan wang. If it is a literal translation of from Malay to English, kumpulan wang is consolidated money, isn't it? Consolidated money. Okay, but of course, it's not consolidated money; it's a fund. Right. Yeah, the constitution. Okay, now we look at the structure of the consolidated fund. Fund accounts. Okay, so of course the fund is the consolidated fund, the federal consolidated fund. So what are the accounts? So there are revenue accounts, trust accounts, and loan accounts. So you can see that the accounts under consolidated fund as the consolidated fund as the accounting entity, right? So the revenue account, trust account, loan account, you can see clearly just now from the Financial Procedures Act. So it's provided by the law, so that the government have to provide. Okay, so the item, the name also is already mentioned in the statute. Okay, I think that's why the AG just comply. Yeah? Right. If you look at, I think the another is one, you know the account under the consolidated fund. So what are the items that is relevant to each account? That's another way. So if you look at this, the revenue account. So see clearly the elements, what is being accounted under revenue account. Okay, one is the supply bill. Okay, these are the operation budget. Okay, the operation budget, or we call it supply bill. In Malay, they call it perbelanjaan bekalan. Okay, bekalan is supply. So perbelanjaan is expenditures. In short term, it's a supply bill. So if you look at the items here, emoluments, service and supplies, acquisition of capital assets, subsidies of fixed charges, right? So this the top three is basically generally being allocated to the government agencies. Okay, subsidies. There are so many forms of subsidies. I think everybody get the benefit of subsidies. Petroleum subsidies, the oil, okay, the rice. Okay, so many subsidies by the government. The cooking oil, okay, heavily subsidized by the government. The gas, the petrol gas, okay, heavily subsidized by the government. So in a way, there are elements of welfare states in Malaysia, okay, to make sure that everybody have at least a good basic standard of living. But of course, need further enhancement. I think if the government have more revenues, okay, they can do more of that. And I think you can see nowadays the funding, the supply bill or the budget allocations, okay, they are funded through government agencies. They're also a type of financial aids that is basically directly funded through, to the individual citizens. Okay, like nowadays, I think all these financial aid. What do they call it? Penjana. What was the name of that? That everybody can get some amount of money. Everybody? Anyone? What's the name of that financial aid in Malaysia? Are you still with me?
I thought it's Penjana, no?
Penjana, this is another name, I think. Okay, never mind. So I mean that's how nowadays, where the money can be channeled directly to respective citizen. Okay, of course they have to register with Inland Revenue. Of course, the catch is sometimes people are afraid of registering their names in Inland Revenue, but that's the way forward. Okay, And I think everybody of you, like, you should develop your all these infrastructures, huh? Because in the future you may want to have, taking financial, banking facilities, right? And then aids from governments or incentive from governments. So I think we should get involved because there are so many incentives. It's just that how to capture them. Huh? And different communities have different advantage of getting access to all these government aids and incentive and grants. Okay, so not only subsidies. So don't get the wrong idea. Only your government, they only give subsidies. Actually, the providing grants, financial facilities, loan guarantees to business communities have been all these have been there for many years. Okay, it's just that how certain communities can take the advantage of it, right? So you must have certain what is needed by the government for them to provide guarantee, and then your businesses or should get. I think it's go beyond microfinancing. Okay, microfinancing, of course, is generally it sounds can attract more base, okay, in the community, but the financing given by the government, or at least a financial guarantee given by the government to business communities, it's been there for many years. Okay, and it's big. If you look at microfinance, okay, it just the amount is 2,000, maximum of 50,000. But for business communities, for SMEs, I mean, it's been there for many years. Minimum funding is 100,000, 250,000. And if the the entrepreneurs are very serious and committed, they can do very well in utilizing all this government funding. So you must be aware of that as well, because sometimes these are not being discussed in a wider scale. Only this nowadays people talk about microfinance. Microfinance is good, okay, but it's very limited because it's not easy to grow a business, okay, becoming very big if unlike other incentive, okay. Okay, then so you can see in the revenue account, so the big chunk of basically these are operating budget. So operating budget is accounted under revenue account. Okay, and then they have trust account. Okay, trust account. So based on trust, so listen carefully here, because the government they become trustee of many monies that they receive. Public trust fund, government trust fund, housing loan, development fund. Okay, because development fund they receive, you look at the contribution, government trust fund, housing loan. Of course, housing loan here for the civil servant. Okay, nowadays I think they increase the cap of the loan, isn't it? I think generally, if you are at management and professional level, you can take loan 500,000. Of course, there are pros and cons. Some people they against giving more debts to the civil servants. But with the nowadays, that's a scenario. Okay, and also look at the development fund, the contribution from the revenue, okay, from income tax basically. Yeah, so there is a contribution to the development fund. But if you look at development fund and housing, there are two sources. One is from the revenue account, the other is from loan account. Okay, so loan is basically from internal loan as well as external loans. But if you look at Malaysian government loans, 95% is basically domestic loans. Because of our government securities are ringgit dominated. Okay, of course the investors can be international investors, but the instruments is dominated in national ringgit. Okay, that's why it can be classified as domestic loans. Right?
Sir,
Yes.
someone wants to enter the class.
Oh, sure. Don't worry.
Thank you, sir.
Where is it? Oh. So, okay. How about try this link? Okay. You still have this problem? Getting access to the accounting standards? Sister Hidayah. Nurul Maisara, you got it? You can check. What is this? Okay, yeah, I mean, if it is the same, the official portal, yeah, all right. I may use the old one. This one and PSAS, yeah. Yeah, same thing. Okay, thank you, Sister Maisara. I'm using the old web. Okay, I think the same from AG, basically the same. Okay, let me continue. Okay, development fund is for development budget, isn't it? You can see the source of the funding, okay, both from revenue as well as loan. And another is if you look at development fund, not all funding to the projects or the government agencies in the form of budget allocation. There are also financing given as, so you see if you look at the bottom there, direct expenditure as well as repayments of loans. So in other words, loans to government agencies. Of course, the funding is from the development fund, but the instrument used to finance the projects or to be given to the government agencies in the form of loans. That's why sometimes you can see there are also loans to the state government. Okay, so in what instances where government or federal government or the treasury provide loans, these are particularly relevant to projects that can generate income. Okay, if the project can generate income, so generally they will, instead of direct expenditures, they will provide loans. So in the future they can repay. Okay, so that's the idea. I think generally, as a general policy, government, the treasury understood. I mean, budget deficit is a serious threat, okay, to the government coffer. Then the level of loans also at the government level is very high. Then it's not, if they can always generate income or encourage government agencies to repay in the future, that's always an option. But generally, the charge rate, they use a charge rate of 4%. Okay, of course, 4% is sometimes higher than the the prevailing interest rate in the country. Okay, it can be lower as well. They call it interest rate. They call it charge rate or service charge rate. Okay. So get a good idea. There are three major accounts in the consolidated to account for consolidated funds. Okay, revenue accounts, trust account, and loan accounts. So each one of them should have the the accounts being prepared. Okay, so as mentioned, okay, under Financial Procedures Act, Section 7 requires of these accounts. Okay, right. All revenues need to be accounted for in the revenue account, except for loans and trusts. Revenues and money include tax revenue, non-tax revenue, and non-revenue received from federal territories. Okay. Okay, source of revenue for these three governments. Okay, this is for federal government. Okay, tax revenue. Okay, from the duties. Okay, as well as income tax. Then non-tax revenue, including interest and returns for investment. Non-revenue receipts, because these are cash accounting, isn't it? So all these will be accounted for as revenue. And revenue from federal territories, okay, because it's part of federal government. State revenue or revenue generated by the activities in the state list, okay, land fees, water, including the forestry, entertainment duties, fees of court, revenue from local authorities of the state, Islamic religious revenue, okay, for local government. But Islamic religious revenue is quite tricky. Yeah? Actually, it's not under the state assembly. Islamic religious revenue is under Majlis Agama. Okay, so Majlis Agama is a very strong entity, yeah, for each state. Okay, a very influential entity, and also between, it's basically, there is no, it's basically headed by the Sultan himself. Huh? Okay, local government revenue, okay, so you can see that various type of revenue, including rents and fees for license. Charge expenditures, okay, these are beside the operating budget. So these are other charges for, basically, if you look at this, members of commissions, so their salaries will be under the charge expenditures. Okay, now we move to consolidated trust account. All receipt of government and public trust funds, okay, all receipt for specific purpose. In other words, if it is a specific purpose, they can only be used for the purpose. In other words, trust money cannot be used for operating budget. Okay, as simple as that. Of course, I mean, the revenue from the government, the taxations can be channeled to this trust account, but to draw out to support the expenditures, so must be based on the trust, the term of the trust. Okay. So for reporting, there is 6 major trust fund: development fund, housing loan, government trust fund, public, and also there are deposits and accounts payable. Okay, development fund to account for loans for the purpose of development, contribution from consolidated revenue account, and repayment loan given out from this fund. Okay, and so in other words, all development expenditures will be accounted under development fund. Okay, housing loan fund to provide housing loan facility to government employees. Of course, nowadays the housing loan is basically collaboration with all the banks. So previously, loan are given by the government directly. But now I think maybe they set aside the commitments and then approval. But the financing is from the private financial institutions. Okay, so you can see that civil servant, they can take loans from various banks. They can get competitive, competitive price. But of course, the funding, basically the guarantee of that loan is from the government. Okay, consolidated trust account. Okay, as mentioned, there are 5 major classifications here for government trust funds. For government trust funds, clearance account, trading, loan account, contingency funds, pension trust fund, okay, and the government trust fund. I think contribution from government. If you look at pension, definitely they have to set up money for the pensions of the civil servants. I think that's the major advantage. I think one of the major advantage working for the government is they have the pension, state pension. Okay, where basically for the civil servant and their spouse to be supported by the pension. Unlike the people in from private sector, okay, you have to develop this the pension plan, right? Including the statutory bodies like UIA, for instance, like myself. Okay, we use KWSP or EPF, so we don't receive pension fund pension. Okay, public trust fund to account for trust money entrusted to federal government and special trust fund incorporated under relevant acts. Okay, source public that placed in trust of the government for specific purposes. I think including like when the government, in the case of court, the bailout money. Okay, these are example of money from public entrusted to the government. Okay, deposits to account deposits, money received from government for specific purpose, refundable when the specific purpose has been achieved. Accounts payable represent the amount owing to suppliers of goods and services by the government as at 31st December, for which payment made in January. Okay, so these are very unique accounts payable. in the trust account. Generally, accounts payable is a liability, okay, but here they are counted under trust account. Of course, these are example of a cash accounting environment. Right, there's another fund, they call it National Trust Fund. I just highlight to you this. I think this recently, not recently, but quite a few years, been set up. So you can see that trust fund is quite dynamic. The government from time to time they establish for specific purpose, but these are example. It's just that they call it Kumpulan Wang Amanah Negara. Okay, so I think we just look at relevant information here. Yeah, these are media, okay, news media for it. I think this one is one suggestion by the economists that they can use the National Trust Fund for additional funding to face the pandemic. Okay, so it's like a reserve for the government. Then this is the annual reports. Okay, and directly under Parliament, counted for National Trust Fund. It's not widely discussed. And then, of course, the what do you call it? The annual report also not yet up to date. But you can see from, you can have a look at this. These are basically apparently it was developed, the fund raised, the source is basically from petroleum money. Okay, I think if you look at the trustee, what they call it, ahli panel, chaired by, used to be the CEO of the Petronas, okay, and then key person from government agencies, okay, like Bank Negara, okay, and also ministers in the Prime Minister office, and the Secretary General of the Treasury, okay, and others. So you can see that special fund for special purpose. They call it National Trust Fund. Okay, as an example, okay, but it's just that this trust fund, there's no updates, okay, but it's there. But since the money is quite big sum, okay, more than 15 billion, okay, if it is invested properly, right? If government can generate 10% of that annual return, so 15 billion is a lot of money, yeah. You can, what is the future value after 10 years? If the return is 10%, if the current existing investment is let's say 15 billion. Anyone? Present value 15 billion. Okay, with the annual rate of 10, let's say for 10 years, 10 years annually, compounding for 10 years, the future will be almost 40 billion. Okay, so 40 billion is a lot of money. Okay, but of course, they need to appoint good fund manager. And now we move on to consolidated loan account for all receipt from loans and disbursement for outstanding loans and transfer to other loan funds. Okay, receipt from local and external borrowings, I did mention that. So these are basically to show the government loans. But in the financial statement, of course, these are cash basis, so they just show the balance of the fund, the balance of the fund. But then the level of liabilities, so where it will be reported in cash environment, they will see, they will report in the notes, in the other accounts, in the memorandum accounts, okay, not on the face of the financial statements. Okay, I'm showing this still under the cash environment because the accrual accounting yet to be submitted, so we're not sure about the final presentation, because there are guidelines being issued. We'll discuss that later. Okay, so you could look at this in terms of presentation of the financial statements under Federal Constitution. Requires federal government to submit, so far as is practicable, the statement of asset and liabilities of the federal of last financial year. This one is financial reporting. So it is provided in the Constitution clearly. statement of assets and liabilities. So if you look at this clause, is basically, if you mention statement of assets and liabilities, so very, very broad, that can accommodate both cash accounting and also accrual accounting. Okay, that's why I think that's also one of the reasons when they adopt accrual accounting, so there is no need of change of constitution. Okay, so I don't see, but I think they will pass the statutes. Okay, adopting accrual accounting. But even the provision, but in the constitutions clearly mentioned that statement of assets and liabilities, so very broad. Okay, and I think that can accommodate easily accrual accounting. But our discussion here today is under cash environment. Okay, so how the reporting can meet this the requirements of the constitution. So you can see later. And then the Financial Procedures Act also requires the preparations of financial statements. Okay, basis for financial reporting. Right, so with that, then the financial statements, as laid out under Financial Procedures Act, statement of consolidated revenue accounts showing purpose and subdivisions, amount expected to be received and spent for the year, amount actually received and spent during the year. Okay, so that's revenue account. Then there is loan account, consolidated loan account, consolidated trust account, and then statement of accounts of fund, not consolidated in trust account, and there's also statement of asset liabilities. Okay, if you look at the last one on the bottom right, statement of asset liabilities. Okay, the manner the assets are invested or higher purpose of outstanding liabilities. So they have that. Okay, other than the balance sheet item. Okay. Right, for circular number, this one for the statutory bodies. For statutory bodies, also they have guidelines issued by the Treasury. Okay, I think one of them definitely is SAGA, and also there is accounts need to be prepared following the accounting standards. Okay, federal government financial statements. This example, can be here. Yes, right. So these are government reports. You can download, very big, huge. I think you can check yourself. Let me share this link. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I share the link in the chat. Okay, I just share from the what I already download. Okay, Malaysian government annual reports. It's an example there. 2018. Yeah, because it's quite big, almost 500 pages, right? So federal government financial statements. Okay, used to be they call it public accounts, but now they changed the name to federal government financial statements. Still, for this example, is prepared. Is prepared under cash accounting. Okay, the Accountants General here, Datuk Saad. I think Datuk Saad is already retired, now replaced by Dr. Ramli. Okay. Right, now AG mostly from UKM. I think the AG mostly from UKM. Used to be from UM, and then they moved to UKM. Okay. URA, accountants from URA, I think they're still climbing the ladder in the AG. Maybe in the future, you will be one of them to become Accountant Negara Malaysia. Huh? Any one of you? You want to be the future Accountants General? Inshallah. Anyone have that intention? Yes?
No, sir.
Huh? Inshallah. Okay, but current now, yeah, the current AG mostly, I think at least 2 of them or 3 of them is basically from UKM. So I'm waiting who will be from IIUM. Okay, so have a quick look. Yeah, mashallah. Last time I was in the committee in MIA, PIB committee member. So he was there, and then we met again when he was the AG. Wow, nice person, huh? Right, and okay, so you can say this. Yeah, I think we just look at the English side. Where's the English? All this in Malay. Let's see the. I think they always provide two because of the time. I just roll down. Okay, so these are the English highlights. See all the dashboards. Okay, you see nowadays presenting all these graphs. Okay, what I want to do regarding presenting graph based on the big data. When I look at this, I remember. I will share with you. So recently we have this training on Tableau. You know Tableau? Tableau.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Tableau. Already know? Oh, you already use that? Tableau?
No, not yet.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
not yet. Because you say you all are very tech savvy, isn't it? So I can share the link. I think you can register for free. Yeah? All the you can self-learning. Tableau, self-learning. Huh? You want it? Self-learning Tableau.
Yes, please, sir.
Okay, so I will share in your GC lah. Okay, self-learning. But it's good because they can process huge data. Okay, because nowadays that's your game. Huh? You extract data from Facebook, from social media. All are based on big data, but not really big data. Mostly a structured data. But you can. I think the idea is you can combine multiple sources of data, and definitely they become big data. Huh? But I don't know exactly at the end. But it's like Power BI. Oh, okay. I never used Power BI. You can use, brother. Yeah, but Power BI is good if you have that skills. Huh? Okay, I'll share later, but just focus on this first. Where is it? Okay. Nice presentation you can use nowadays. Okay. AG reports. Just okay, all these reports. Still under the operating. So you can see that the comment is based on the structure of the accounts. So consolidated debit account, consolidated okay, loan account, and definitely trust account was there. Yeah, and consolidated trust account. Okay, all the details. Okay, you can see that clearly they use latest, data. Yeah. Okay. This. Okay, financial statements. Right, financial statements. So we just see the statements. Okay. What is it? A lot of explanation. Okay, you can read. All the notes. I just want to highlight how they present the financial statements. Okay, basis of opinion. Yes, okay, the structure of the accounts, how they present it. Yeah, this is a statement of financial position. Okay, so because these are a cash account, okay, cash accounting, so they just highlights cash and also cash equivalents. So that's why they have cash and investment. That's the only two items under assets. They don't even call assets. They call public monies. Okay, it's like a cash book. And then with that, so represented by the various fund. Okay, basically represented by the consolidated fund. Okay, with the 3 accounts: revenue accounts, loan, and trust. You can see revenue not much left, right? These are balanced. These are fund balance. Okay, for revenue account, a loan account, and trust account. These are fund balance. So if you think carefully for these 3, if you link that to restricted, unrestricted, so definitely loan is restricted, trust is restricted, only the revenue is not restricted. Okay, so 11 billion left to be used for the next period, for unrestricted, and then of course need to be supported by the current year revenue. Then they have enough funding. Right, and then the statement of cash and receipt payments. So we all the relevant notes. Okay, cash and receipt payments. Right, now they have a statement of financial performance. Okay, then revenue, okay, and operating expenditure. Okay, they have revenue surplus, less the development. Okay, that's why you can see clearly, this is quite consistent from one year to another. Can you see this, brothers, sisters? Can you see this? Okay,
Yes.
so you can see from here, it's quite consistent. Revenue generally enough to cover the operating expenditures. Okay, so this is quite consistent from year to year. And then if you look at this, only 4 billion left, right? So the actual also quite consistent with what they expected. Okay, so quite good in sense, what they plan, they still have revenue surplus, but of course, the development budget will not be enough. It's quite consistent. Generally, the development budget will be funded from other sources, basically from loans. So there is a budget deficit funded by loans. Okay, big chunk of that is by loans. So 54 billion. Okay, so this quite, if you look at this as a statement of financial performance, and then it's basically budget deficit. But the budget deficit is for the development. Generally, these are quite consistent from one year to another. Okay, on top of this, this one, they have a statement of memorandum accounts. These are not common in private sector. Okay, these also because of this statement is basically, one is it is a cash environment, so they don't report liability, asset and liabilities, or financial assets and liabilities in the balance sheet. So they report in the statement of accounts, memorandum accounts, memo. And I think with this, they can meet the requirements of the Constitution. Okay, so you can see clearly here, they have memorandum accounts. Still, the main focus is financial assets. Okay, so account receivable, investment, okay, huge amount, 86 billion, okay, 31 billion. So you can see clearly. So all these are basically can be monetized, okay, to cover for the budget. And these are, if you look at liabilities, so these are the level of debts of the government. Federal debt, liability for PFI, financial commitment, other liabilities. Okay. So 741 billion is the federal debt. Okay, the assets is 117 billion, but the debt, this one you can see clearly, and it mentioned that the government debt exceed the 1 trillion. So it is reported in 2018. Okay, but I think that it exceed 1 trillion because of the commitments also. These are financial guarantee by the government. But if it is through the government securities and all, it's only 741. I think when they calculate, the government debt percentage to GDP, I think they only up to this federal debt. Okay, that's why it's still manageable in that sense. Because financial commitment, of course, is a kind of liability, but it's a more on contingent liabilities, isn't it? Need to be provided, but I think with other mechanism, they can manage this better. Okay, so it's not a double entry accounts, but you can see clearly. That's why if you look at the financial in the balance sheet or in the statement of financial position, you cannot see the liability. You can see the liabilities is in the memorandum accounts. Okay. Any question? And then the rest are notes to the financial accounts. So you can see in the accounting policies clearly, they will mention that, yeah, here, the government use modified cash. Modified cash. Okay. Modified cash basis of accounting. I think that's the main one. All right. Any questions? You can overview, okay, the accounts. But of course, possibly these are the last year. No, 2018, 19, 20. Either 20, they will use accrual. Then we expect that change to accrual statement of financial position or financial statements. Okay, prepared by Accountants General Department, certified by Auditor General. Okay. Paid before the Parliament. Okay, both. There is a details reports and summarized reports. Okay, I think we discussed this. You can read this. Okay, public debts. I think we discussed to the annual accounts. Okay, notes to the account. Done. Okay, now beside that, we also discuss on the statutory bodies. Financial accounting and reporting for nation statutory bodies. Because other than ministries and departments, we have also statutory bodies where generally statutory bodies only use accrual accounting. I think there are also statutory bodies they use cash accounting for some reason, but generally they use MPSAS. Or they can, if you look at the standards here from statutory bodies, they can use MFRS, they can use MPSAS or MPERS. Okay, but some these staff accounting body entities, okay, for the government, they want to use MFRS. Why they want to use MFRS? Because they want to set high standard of reporting. Not only MPERS, because I think MPERS is a brief standards where not so many, not as detailed as MFRS. Okay, of course it's meant for SMEs. Okay, but statutory bodies, they can use MPERS. But there are also instances where, if they want to use high level of accounting standard, they should use MFRS. That's why you can expect Tabung Haji, okay? Tabung Haji, they use MFRS. EPF, you should expect EPF should use MFRS instead of MPSAS. Right, and at the same time, they are complying to SAGA. Okay, SAGA is the accounting standards, okay, for the statutory bodies or accounting guidelines. And also there are accounting system, they call it SAGA, for statutory bodies. One way is to make sure that the consistency of the chart of accounts. Okay, SAGA, right, use software, a standardized codes of charts. Okay, SAGA is applicable to federal and state government statutory bodies, not only for federal, but state government. Okay, these are the recent guidelines. So if you look at the fourth point, the SAGA is issued as SSV are autonomous government entities. For SAGA, SAGA, if I'm not mistaken, that's why they call it SAGA. Okay, standardized accounting system for government agencies. Okay, but of course in Malay. Right, so have a look. But I think these are the guidelines and the guidelines. Yeah, and also standing orders. Standing orders is surat keliling. Okay, so in other words, with the issuance of these circulars, okay, circulars, then generally the statutory bodies, they will implement and adopt the circulars for their internal management. Okay, I think they can choose over-the-shelf accounts. It's just that they need to standardize their code of accounts. Okay, generally. Okay, have a quick look and read that. It's good. Okay, so SAGA for the statutory bodies. I think definitely IIM should follow this SAGA. Okay, some recent issues in financial reporting in public sector in media. I think it's also good to know this, right? I think the impact of using accrual and MFRS. Hey, where is my, okay. Cases of huge impairment of assets in legislative bodies, Tabung Haji in 2019, 1.5 billion impairment losses. Felda Global, 2.2 billion impairment losses in 2017. So I think that's why it's good to use MFRS, because with this impairment, okay, then really it attracts, you know, the debates, how the government money is being used. Because I think with MFRS, okay, the focus on future cash flow and all, and then to link that with the current market scenario. Okay, there are arguments against or for it, right? But nevertheless, I think it's good so that it makes the top management of all these agencies should exercise more care in their capital expenditures or in their investment strategies. Okay, such impairments possible under accrual-based accounting. Okay, so in cash-based, all these investment is basically just considered as expenditures. But statutory bodies generally they use accrual accounting. Okay, any questions? Any question? No question, eh? No question means you understood, you know, and if it is, you know, you need more time, please study them. Huh? And generally, I think for Malaysian, right, I think it's good for you to know government agencies, their accounting potentials, because generally government bodies are very big. Huh? So if it is auditing also, they can generate very good audit incomes, right? So get to know it, and so that you can audit them properly, yeah? Because they are not private sector entities with profit-making targets. Okay, so how to use the relevant accounting standards, that is very important. Because maybe you know, if you look at this, for instance, in the case of Tabung Haji, argument can be made because Tabung Haji itself is not purely commercial entities. Okay, if you are subjected to huge impairment losses, then at the end, the decision made was to dispose all these assets. But then, you know, without taking into account the current economic scenarios, so it can create debates. Is that the right best? Is that the best way? And also, we are talking about long term because they are not accountable to shareholders where they are looking for quick money, okay, quick dividends and all that. Whereas Tabung Haji, you know, you're more towards long-term values of the investment. So these are debates, of course, you know, leave it to the top decision maker to decide. So with good understanding of the nature of the government entity, maybe, you know, the decision will be different as opposed to if it is just a fund manager or very highly, you know, short-term in doing business, because yeah, GLC is very interesting bodies. Okay, I think still in debate nowadays, and definitely people like you will also get involved in the debate. Okay, and if you become a decision maker, so hopefully you can make good decisions. You know, for the best interest. I think in the case if it is trust money, definitely for the best interest of the beneficiaries. Okay, I think if no questions, I will end this discussion. Oh, any question? So, does one NAB can be one of the issue related to public sector? Yes. Because one NDB was created to help the government. I think there are two. One is for investment, if I'm not mistaken. The other is to provide the housing for Malaysian home, isn't it? Okay, but it's just that the bureaucracy the control basically failed. It's too fast and then not properly monitored by the parliament. Then there's so many things, there are so many loopholes. So that's why I think in one hand you can see how important bureaucracy is to go the due process, due diligence, rather than very quick decisions being made. And so the control must always be there because it will be very costly to the country. Yeah. Okay. But of course, I cannot comment in detail, but it's just an overall issues. Okay, what is being discussed in media, I think to that extent. But I think it can be done better. Okay, if the accountability system work properly. But in any case, you know, in audits, I think you learn that, you know, even if you have the strongest internal control in the world, but if you have something bypassing the control, then it's not easy. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? If not, I end this with wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.